Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to apply trigonometry to real-world problems. This is our last video about trigonometry. We will be learning about angles of elevation and angles of depression. So, angle of elevation is the angle from the line of sight to an object above the viewer to the horizontal line. So, for example, if you have someone standing here looking at this object above the person, the angle of elevation is this angle created between the horizontal and their line of sight when they're looking up. Similarly, the angle of depression is the angle from the line of sight to the horizontal, but it's when you're looking down at an object. So this angle here is the angle of depression. Let's do an example problem together. It says Leah wants to see a castle in an amusement park. She sights the top of the castle at an angle of elevation of 38 degrees. She knows that the castle is 190 feet tall. If Leah is 5'5" tall, how far is she from the castle to the nearest foot? So we'll put Leah here. We can put a point to represent her and call it L. Next, here's the castle over here. We are trying to find how far she is from the castle. Now this is a little bit tricky because the castle is 190 feet tall. However, that does not mean the side of this triangle is 190 feet because this angle of elevation, 38 degrees, where she is from her eyesight up to the top of the castle, only goes from her eyes. So we have Leah standing here, and this is at her eye level. So it tells us in the problem that Leah is 5.5 feet tall. Remember, that means she is 5'6" tall. It does not mean she's 5'5" tall. A half of a foot is 6 inches. So she is 5.5 feet tall. That means that this side of the triangle would actually be 190 minus 5.5, so it's 184.5 feet. Alright, so we have this angle of elevation, we have the 184.5 feet, and we are trying to find x. X is the adjacent side to the angle. Also, real quick note, you can always assume that a tree or a building is making a perpendicular with the ground. So we'll say this is a right angle here. This side here is opposite the 38-degree angle. So we'll label it opposite. Now, in order to find x, I am given only one side. This is not a special triangle, so I'm going to think SOHCAHTOA. I need to use a trig function. And I know it must be tangent, since tangent uses opposite and adjacent. So I'll write down tangent of 38 degrees equals 184.5 over x. Now to solve this for x, I'll first multiply by x on both sides. Next, divide both sides by tangent of 38 degrees. And now I have x by itself. What I need to do to solve this is to plug in 184.5 divided by tangent of 38 degrees in my calculator. Remember, you must make sure that your calculator is in degree mode before you type this in. So double check up at the top of your calculator that it says degree. If not, remember how I taught you to change it. Go to the mode. Make sure you're in the correct mode. Now this says to round to the nearest foot, so we will say she is 236 feet away from the castle. Pause the video and try the practice problem below. Here's the correct answer. Let's do one with angle of depression. This says a search and rescue team is airlifting people from the scene of a boating accident when they observe another person in need of help. If the angle of depression to this other person is 42 degrees and the helicopter is 18 feet above the water. What is the horizontal distance from the rescues to this person to the nearest foot? So what's nice about this problem is that they already gave us an image to look off of. And something that I need to point out to you is that the angle of depression, since it's created with this horizontal line and the other horizontal line in the triangle would be parallel to it, this angle inside the triangle is going to always be congruent to the angle of depression, because they are alternate interior angles with parallel lines. So that's how that 42 degrees was placed inside the triangle. So let's look at our triangle. I personally would like to draw it out separate from the diagram. Label the sides. Now we can pick a trig function. So since this uses opposite and adjacent, I'll think SOHCAHTOA to remember which one uses opposite adjacent. And that trig function would be tangent. So I'll write down tangent 42 degrees equals the opposite 18 over the adjacent x. Now I can solve this by multiplying by x on both sides, and then dividing by tangent of 42 on both sides. In order to get my answer, I need to plug this value into my calculator, 18 divided by tangent of 42 degrees, and I get 19.99. So what this means is that the horizontal distance is about 20 feet. Alright, I want you to pause this video and try this practice problem below. Just so you know, as a hint, on most of these problems we will be using tangent. Almost always they're going to be talking about the vertical and the horizontal distances. It's not very often that we use the hypotenuse on angle of elevation and angle of depression problems, because that would be very difficult to measure. So on this problem, your practice problem, when it's asking how far away is the tower from the swimmer, it's talking about the horizontal distance. All right, here's the answer to that question. And finally, your reflection question today is to classify this as always true or never true. Explain your reasoning in 1 to 2 complete sentences. Here's the statement. As a person moves closer to an object he or she is sighting, the angle of elevation increases. So think about if you are looking at an object, you should know whether you're looking up or down based on angle of elevation. As you move closer to that object, would your angle of elevation increase or decrease? This statement says that it increases. Is that true or false? Draw a diagram if you need to help you and see what you think. That's all I have for you today, and that's all I have for trigonometric functions. So I hope you have a great day.